I start, we have some 20 plus people registered. We'll see some more will probably join. We will have more or less an hour to introduce what is the approach of UN Global Compact. My name is Antonio Haudle, Executive Director of the UN Global Compact Network Switzerland and Liechtenstein, and I have with me also some of my people, and among us also Matthew Kilgariff, our Vice President, who just announced the pizza evening in Geneva. So most welcome to all of you in the region to meet people in person. Then Melanie is there, Annie is there, and Alice will join in just for the program later. And Seraina helps us with the technical background as a trainee. So I see some familiar faces, and please interrupt or ask questions if you want to have more specific insights. What I will give you is a short overview, and I just share my screen now. Here it is. That's it. So you should see it, I suppose. And then I just go, yeah, make it a little bit bigger that I can see all of you. That's it. So perfect. Feel free also to turn on your camera if you want, then we can see each other and interact. I just go through it. What is the UN Global Compact? You may know. And what I would just have from you shortly in the chat, what is important for you? What do you want to know after this 1 hour, this 70 minutes, for 1 hour and a quarter max? Just write in 1 or 2 keywords. What do you expect in the chat if you can? Just listen and get informed in general, okay? Good. General introduction. Fine. Okay, that we can definitely provide you. So I will not go into the details. I just told you before. These are the newcomers of the last couple of weeks or months. We have quite a lot of new joiners, and that's happy. We're growing more and more. So that's a good sign and a good process. And for you, it's important that you, if you're interested to connect with other Global Compact participants, do not hesitate to contact us or go and contact them directly. I would like to give first a short overview what we understand under business responsibility and business sustainability. Here, our president of our board of the UN Global Compact, the role of business is crucial now more than ever. As big decisions are made about our future, companies need to address environment, social and governance risks holistically and move beyond business as usual. So it's really this approach to go beyond business as usual. The basis of our approach is, and you know that all, the triple bottom line. So the 3 dimensions of responsibility in business and sustainability in business. The economic part, the environmental part, and the social part. And what we want is this balance between the 3 dimensions. Those who work in the sphere of finances know the 4th criteria. If we are speaking of ESG, the governance aspect is important too. In the past, more about the role of the board of directors of a company, the management, etc. But in the present context, the questions of rule of law and states who are stable influence the possibilities of governance of companies. So this aspect becomes also even more important. What we do not want is what I call the Mickey Mouse economy. As soon as the times get more difficult. Only the economic approach is relevant, and the two other dimensions or the three other dimensions get lost. So that's what we definitely do not want. Another approach which can be helpful is the donut economy, this model, because it describes where companies and the private sector ideally should be in this green sphere. It's clear that what we provide as private sector, together with the public sector and the civil society, are these supplies of basic needs, food, wealth, education, etc. That's very important. But we are operating in a field where we have also negative impacts on that, what we call the basis of all economic activities, so biodiversity, air pollution, environment, etc. And the question is, are we in balance or not? And we know we are not. We are not in this safe and just space for humanity on a long run. We all know if we continue another 200 years as we did in the past, the planet will strongly react against us and will destroy also the basis of our culture and also of our economy. So the objective is really to get into this safe space and just space for humanity, where we understand that we are part of the system and not the masters of the system. Where do we need to go? Also, this is became quite clear through the whole debates on the Sustainable Development Goals within the Agenda 2030 of the United Nations. Just to show where we are in Switzerland and globally, this is the global thing. I don't go into the details, but we see we have still poverty. The global warming is probably one of the biggest challenges. Biodiversity is another very big challenge. And pollution, not sustainable cycles are these big issues. The UN tells us that we are 62 years behind schedule if we want to really reach all the objectives until 2030. And most probably we will not reach them. The question is, what do we do as private sector in this context? We know that responsible business, or the private sector as such, is key to solving the challenges we face in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, in Europe, on the whole planet. And if we are looking on Switzerland's footprint, we always think we are so good in sustainability, but you know we are not. Our ecological footprint is still, depending on the measures we take, at least 2.8 times. It can, or even 3.3. That means we need more or less 3 planets if the whole population of this globe would live as we do in Switzerland. And that's definitely not sustainable in the long run and will have severe consequences if we do not adapt. And then the food waste, we are one of the largest food waste producer per capita in tons or kilograms. And that is still a huge challenge. So we are wasting materials we should bring back into the circle, keywords circle economy. Also here we have huge challenges. And in the gender equality approach, we know Switzerland is not on the tops here. Also here we have still a lot to do. I like this model, which I found from a consultant. If we are looking where we stay in our present debates about business sustainability and responsibility, we are still here in this field where we try to do less harm, going to no harm. But we also know that is not enough. In a midterm and as fast as possible, we should go to a not only sustainable economy, but to a restorative and regenerative economy. And the question is, how do we get there? It's not a simple answer. There is not one answer, but the idea is really that we develop the whole global and regional and local economic systems and activities in this direction of a regenerative economy. Just to mention the book of Paul Polman and Andrew Winston. Paul Polman is our vice president of the board of the UN Global Compact, former CEO of Unilever. They wrote this book. It came out last year. I can recommend it. And there you have these steps: do less harm, do no harm, become restorative, and become net positive regenerative. So that's the main idea we try to push together with you as UN Global Compact. So what is the UN Global Compact? Most of you know that, but I just go on back over it. It started with a speech of Kofi Annan at the WEF 2000. I propose that you, the business leaders, and we, the United Nations, initiate the Global Compact of shared values and principles, which will give a human face to the global market. That was the starting point. And then Georg Kell and his team, they started to build up. At the beginning, we had some very large companies. Switzerland, by the way, was one of the leading countries with Novartis at the time. ABB was there, Holcim and UBS, if I remember right. So large companies started, and the idea was based on the voluntary principles. We start this Global Compact. We do not wait until the states or international organizations have formulated laws we have to follow. We are the forerunners, and we want to change the markets. What do we have as vision? It's this more sustainable and inclusive global economy. That's what we want to achieve together with all companies globally, together with NGOs, with civil society organizations and non-business organizations. We follow two objectives. The one is make the 10 principles part of the business strategy, operations, and culture everywhere. I come to that in a minute. It looks quite easy, but those of you who are in the operations know how difficult it can be. And then the second objective is we invite all our participants, mainly the business, but also the non-business, to implement corporate responsibility that counts for profit and non-profit organizations, and to support UN goals and issues. At the moment, that's the Agenda 2030 with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. That is the vision and our objectives we are following and we are promoting together with you. I've already mentioned that. We have a mandate from the UN General Assembly from the 26th of July in the year 2000. And in between, we are the largest corporate sustainability initiative. Another very important one is the World Business Council for Sustainable Development with seat in Geneva, which unites some of the 250 largest transnational companies. We have now more or less 20,000 participants all over the globe, still far beyond what we need to have in a long run to really make a difference. But we are strongly growing and we are pushing it forward. We understand us as multi-stakeholder platform for learning, knowledge sharing, and collective action. So also the non-business members are important, even though they are the small minority. There are less than 2% of all our participants, but in the interaction, they are very important. I mentioned also academia. We have a sister organization, Prime Principles for Responsible Management Education, with which we collaborate strongly. The idea is really to bring in the whole sustainability and responsibility teaching and approaches in business education from the beginning, not only in the postgraduate studies. The basis are the 10 principles, and I still find it was quite clever because they said, what are the shared values and principles? They didn't go and invented a new agenda. They just took what was there, mainly the 3 pillars of the UN conventions in 2000, the Human Rights Convention, the International Labour Organization Convention, ILO Convention, and the environmental agenda, it was Rio plus 20 then, and now it's Paris 2030. These are the pillars, the main pillars of our approaches. In 2003, they added the 10th principle: business should work against corruption in all its forms, including extortion and bribery. So the anti-corruption principles of the UN were added. And I repeat that we support and expect from our participants that you embed the 10 principles into your strategies, operations, and culture everywhere. To formulate a strategy top down, yeah, it's not trivial, but it's feasible and you can make it. To implement it in your operations becomes even more tricky, and especially in the supply chain and in the distribution chain and end of life of products and services, the challenges are still enormous and huge, since we know that tier 2 or 3 of our supply chains are very difficult to manage and to control. And for larger companies to really introduce these thoughts into the culture seems, or at least seem to be very, very difficult. Things are changing. I observed that since 2015, I'm with the UN Global Compact here in Switzerland. At the beginning, it was really tough to convince companies, and Matthew Kilgariff has also his experiences going and trying to get new members on board. It was not evident. Now the times changed a bit. There are more and more companies joining, but the big challenge remains with the medium-sized and the smaller companies who have oftentimes not the resources or the time, or do not see yet the relevance of these approaches. So what this, just in very shortly, you know what we expect from you. Basically, we want the commitment of the whole company. So the CEO has to sign the letter to our Secretary General, and the CEOs have to recommit every year when they upload the COP or when you upload the COP. The idea behind it, these are voluntary principles. It's not a certification. So we need the recommitment of the highest level of the company or the organization every year to create this awareness. Hey, you are part of the UN Global Compact. You have subscribed to the 10 principles. You have committed. And that's why we have the annual communication on progress. Alice will speak about that in details afterwards. That's the method to force you to be transparent, to disclose what you have done, and to show the progress you have done on an annual basis. The two other points are also important. This willingness to engage in continuous performance improvement. We do not expect companies and organizations to be already perfect. They can be even very beginners, but what is necessary is the commitment. Yes, we see it's important. We want to change something. We start and we'll learn from each other. We will use the resources of UN Global Compact, and then we will improve our operations, our supply and distribution chains, and align them with the objectives of the 10 principles. And that means we also expect that the companies and organizations are open to dialogue and learning and around critical issues. I take one example because it's known in public. That's the case of LafargeHolcim. You have heard about the Syria scandal, where they paid an external agent to run the companies, and it seems that also, or it seems to be clear that ES and other military forces got financing, and that meant LafargeHolcim got in a crisis. And that's where we had dialogues, intervened. We had also a critical dialogue open to our participants to learn then from this experience. And in between, this company has completely adapted and changed its processes. As far as I know, it's the first company in Switzerland where the head of sustainability is also member of the management board. There will be new ones and other ones. So also there we see a change. That's an important part. And companies who get into trouble, they will be contacted by us, asking them, where can we support you? Where do you have difficulties? Where do you have to improve? But we had cases where we had to say, sorry, if you do not really adapt, if you are not willing to change, then you have to leave the UN Global Compact. This is the way we are proceeding on a normal basis, and we will continue, especially our dialogues around critical issues. We call it here in Switzerland the dilemma dialogues. So we have a principle-based approach for a sustainable and restorative global economy. That's the idea. And I always present, if I have to present the UN Global Compact in one slide, I use this slide. What is clear, we ask all our participants and the whole economy globally to act responsibly and do decent business. And for this, the 10 principles based on these 4 main pillars are a very good instrument. And we normally propose in the process for a newcomer, the first step is a do no harm analysis. Where do you have negative impacts? And analyze and see where they are the biggest, and try to then formulate 1 to 4 objectives for the next 12 to 24 months, what you will do to really reduce the negative impacts. And then the other way around, where do you have your strength? Where is your unique selling point to really be a positive actor, and bring also that to the light and say, here we will improve, we will continue. That's your own house. And then we say, go and have a look at the UN conventions. And at the moment, it's the Agenda 2030 with the 17 goals. And I always say, in my eyes, this is the biggest business opportunity we have at the moment in the 21st century. And it's up to now also unique in world history. Never ever all the states have agreed on an analysis where are the biggest challenges of humanity today and where we should change things. And we observe that many especially smart companies and startups go and take the goals and the targets to look where can we develop new services and products. If I'm looking at HISCO, your approach is typical for one of these, where you really take a problem and you try to make, in your case, a non-business case, but an NGO approach which really makes a difference. But be aware of blue washing, green washing, or we call it also SDG washing, because these SDGs seem to become, in a way, sexy for companies and for their PR and marketing departments, showing how good they are. And what we recommend is also to do a do no harm analysis at the beginning, go through the 17 goals and look where do you have as an organization and company negative impacts. And that's the first point you have to really work on. You have to reduce to a maximum the negative impacts. We will never really completely eliminate them because human beings are as such impacting the environment or the ecosystem, but we have to reduce them to a maximum. And then look where you have your key competencies and select the important SDGs and work on them, define objectives, measure the outcomes and impacts, and report on them. So that's these 2 steps: do no harm on the 4 pillars, do no harm on the SDGs, and do a potential analysis on both aspects and develop new products and services. And what we can propose to you now as UN Global Compact is drive impact on specific goals. That's what we expect, and we can support you with all our programs, informations, etc. Alice will show you that afterwards. And we also want to scale collective action. That's a very important part. We invite you to be part of our network, because the UN Global Compact understands itself as the network of networks. That's why we're collaborating with all possible partners, from World Business Council to the different Swiss business associations like ÖBU, B-Lab, etc., Swiss Clean Tech. We want to create an ecosystem where these changes become visible and where we support each other mutually to really improve and create values on a long term for all societies, locally, regionally, and globally. And the last part is the measurable progress. We want to see how our companies progress. That's why we have this new communication on progress from next year, where you have to respond to 60 questions and you will get a feedback to see where you stay in comparison to the sector and to other UN Global Compact participants. In a summary, that's a picture of Swiss Development Cooperation. If we speak of sustainability, the basis are first the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact, and in between we have the UN Guiding Principles for Business and Human Rights, which are also reflected in the OECD guideline for multinational enterprises. So that's the basic approach which we have to do as companies and organizations in a responsible way. That's the responsibility part. And on top of that, we add the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, which creates huge opportunities, but has to be strongly linked with our responsibility. Yeah, I already mentioned that. What we want to offer you is really the connection, that you come together locally, regionally, and globally with regional, local events, training, sharing, and learnings, what you will see afterwards, and with the larger flagship events and international peer learning groups and think tanks also, which are organized by the UN Global Compact in New York. Together we will learn and want to learn. We have the academy, you will see that afterwards. And finally, we also expect that you lead in your sector, that you are a good example and tell also your best practices, and that you then communicate on what you're doing. I think that's an important part, that we are also visible in the difficulties we have still as economy, but how we tackle them and how we overcome them and how we can influence and produce new approaches which really make a difference. Just some numbers. Yeah, we are more or less 16,000 business organizations now for profit, some 4,000 non-business. We are present in more than 160 countries. And I think at the moment we are 70 local networks uniting, and more than 90 million employees are in our companies. That's where we are. You can see in Africa, we have still some holes here. We have a new African strategy since last year. We really try to build up local networks because we are convinced that the private sector, also in developing and emerging economies, must play a role, and we would like to really support these processes also through local networks. And in between there are several more, and some 6 or 7 are in the pipeline in Africa. Now I'm looking, shortly what our mission as local network. It's quite evident. We seek to promote responsible business practices by stimulating multi-stakeholder dialogue. That's the one part, and then providing knowledge, tools, and mutual learning opportunities for business in Switzerland and Liechtenstein to engage in corporate responsibility and sustainability. And we do that also in connection with the non-business participants we have. These are mainly larger NGOs who are also very close to business and profit organizations. We have some now 270 business participants. We will see quite a number of the listings of smallest companies by the end of the year, but this year we will have some more 50 and more new participants probably. yeah, quite a large number of SMEs. This part is increasing. 50% are still large companies, and 2.5 million employees are in our companies and organizations. That's our team. Yes, it's all the pictures are up to date because Melanie just started on the 1st of October as our marketing and communication officer. And as you can see, our team is also growing as our membership and as our activities. Because we offer, I counted it yesterday, this year we have some 90 plus events, trainings, meetings, etc. So the value proposition has grown in the past years. And with that, I hand over to Annie. Are there questions or feedbacks or comments before we go to the more technical participation questions? No? Good. Then Annie, can I hand over to you? We don't hear you. Does it work? Your micro. It's not working.
Can you hear?
Yeah, now it's fine. Perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. A very warm welcome from my side as well. So thank you very much for joining. As you would have seen, we are a small team and we all wear many hats, and I'm responsible for the administration of our local network, and I'm also a contact point. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions or if you need support. I'll be more than happy to try and find the answer for you either in our local network or at the global level. So that being said, Antonio, can you move over to the next slide, please? Okay, I've had the pleasure of being able to welcome many of you to our local network. So when you join our local network, you would receive a welcome package, and in that package you would have seen it has our value proposition and the logos and our statutes. It also comes with our social media cards, which we hope you found useful in promoting your organisation and joining our network. You might have already received also our participation fee, depending on your income level, and our activities. And if you need any support, the info@ email address is manned by myself and my colleague Soraya, and also Lorena as well. So someone will always be able to answer any questions. So please don't hesitate to use that. Next slide, please. Okay, a lot of our information is already available at our website, which contains our programs, our tools, and further resources. And your organisation would also be listed on our members page as well. So please utilise that and refer to that website there. Thank you. Your organisation also has a profile on the UN Global Compact website. This is the public profile where organisations will also be able to see your communication of progress once it's been submitted. If you would like to ensure that you receive our newsletters and our member letter, please include your contacts on the dashboard, which is down here. You can locate it either on our website or also on the sign-in at the UN Global Compact website there. So next slide, please. Thank you. As Antonio mentioned, we have a new communication on progress next year. This has been quite a change from our previous or the current COP, and it will transition into a standardized questionnaire. So it's every organisation, regardless of size. So it can be a two-person operation through the multi-transnationals. Everybody will have to answer the same minimum 60 questions. There will be a digital signature system for the CEO for the continued support, and there is a big change in terms of there is a universal submission period beginning on the 1st of March to the 30th of June. And this aligns with the already other established reporting frameworks. We hope that this will assist your organisation to increase your brand value and also be able to measure and demonstrate your progress. It is above all a learning tool, and we encourage your organization to see it as that. So we are not expecting perfect answers, but for you to be able to identify any weaknesses or any areas which you think which would need to be improved, and to utilize the services which we provide to help you on your sustainability journey. Next slide, please. Okay. We also encourage you to apply for the We Support logo. You can use this in promotion to communicate your commitment to the UN Global Compact, but to do this, you need to receive approval. So an official request has to be submitted on the dashboard, which we saw before, and you can find details on our logo policy for to explain how you can use this logo. They are quite strict about it, and what I would encourage you is once you submit your application on the dashboard, please send us an email. So if you like, send me an email, because I have instances where clients have been waiting for their approval and it takes some time, so I can help you to chase up from the head office side. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Next slide, please. To keep informed of all of our activities, we encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter. So if you are registered as a contact point, you will automatically receive our newsletters. But if you have other colleagues who are interested, please sign up on our website on there, and that provides you with our programs and events and any news which is relevant. And finally, please follow us on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn group which we encourage you to join, and also a Twitter platform as well. And I'll pass.
Yeah. Then I hand over to Alice.
Yes, hello everyone, and also a warm welcome from my side. It's a great pleasure to meet you all today. So I'm Alice. I'm heading the thematical work at the network, so the programs. Next slide, please. With the programs team, we want to offer you insightful and useful content to help you advance sustainability in your organizations. We work along 7 focus areas that reflect our priorities and where we think that we can have the most impact. So these focus areas are the UNGC 10 principles, human and labor rights, environment and climate, anti-corruption, the Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2030, sustainable supply chain management, and sustainability reporting. We offer different formats that fulfill the purpose of exchanging with and learning from peers and from experts. So the formats that we offer are some of them online, some of them in person, some of them are e-learning. So we have, for example, webinars, single or series. We have e-learnings that are either on our website or on the Academy. I will talk about the Academy a bit later. We have sharing and learnings for peer exchange. We have trainings and accelerators, which I will also mention later. And then we have peer learning groups that are really fixed groups where companies exchange on a regular basis about a specific topic. And we have Think Labs, which are in gray because they are totally offered by the UNGC, so we don't have any control on that. And the Think Labs are for the most advanced companies, and they usually end up with very good results and also deliverables that other companies can use. So for example, now we have a Think Lab on living wage or a Think Lab on just transition, and some of our companies are attending those Think Lab and working on the topics. Next slide, please. So here I just wanted to give you a bit of an idea what are our upcoming activities. So we will have a briefing on regulatory trends in the EU and at international level. This is something that we do 4 times a year. So always the same formats and the changing contents updated. Then we have soon our human rights due diligence peer learning and networking group meeting. This is about 45 minutes meeting where you can discuss with peers. It's for companies only, and where you can discuss your human rights due diligence issues. We have the working group on sustainable supply chain management that we do together with URBU. The next session will be in December, and we'll focus on the new Sustainable Supply Chain Act in Germany. We have networking events, like more informal ones, with like this pizza networking event in Geneva coming up also in October. We will have as well an EU whistleblowing directive webinar to explain how this new EU whistleblowing directive is affecting companies in Switzerland. And finally, the webinar on the introduction to reporting requirements in Switzerland and the EU. So the new regulations that are implemented or will be implemented as of 23 in Switzerland and on EU level. Yeah, about the accelerators. So this is what the Global Compact calls accelerators, are training programs. These training programs are developed on international level. So at the level of UNGC, they prepare content together with the experts on the field, and they then deliver those content to us, and we implement on the local level. So you can imagine a bit like this. So you would have e-learning, and then after this e-learning, so you have to sign up, then you have an e-learning, and then you have a peer learning session with us, facilitated by us, and where we invite experts to discuss what you've learned. And then again, another peer learning, and this goes depending on the accelerator. This goes between 3 months and 6 months learning journey. So we have one on SDG ambition, one on young SDG innovators. This is young, means under 35. We have the climate ambition accelerator, the target gender equality, and the business and human rights accelerator. So just to give you an idea, the SDG ambition has been done twice, but we don't implement it this year. Young SDG innovators will take place next year for the first time. Climate Ambition Accelerator is currently in its second rollout. Target Gender Equality is now in its first rollout in Switzerland, and the Business and Human Rights Accelerator is the last baby. It's just coming up, and it will start in February for the first time for everyone on the UNGC level. And then we have the academy, which we all encourage you to see, to visit, to take advantage of. This is a huge e-learning platform that is open only for UNGC members. You can use it, you or your whole team or your whole company. So it's an unlimited number of participants, and to enter the academy, you just have to sign in. And if your company or your organization, no, it's your company, because it's only for profit for businesses. So if your company is registered as a participant, the email address will tell the academy that it's okay, that you can watch the content. So it is, we really encourage you to go and have a look. It is a mine of information. And then we have tools so that are developed on different levels, such as Decent Work Toolkit for Sustainable Procurement, which is on one hand a lot of tools, and on the other hand e-learnings to help company advance decent work in their supply chains globally. Next slide. Yes, we have a big UN Global Compact library. You have maybe already seen it. It is online, it is free, it is for everyone. It's not just for the UNGC participants. And yeah, we also encourage you to go and have a look on that. They have all the content you can imagine on the business and sustainability. And then, yes. So since we understand that it's a bit complicated with all this content, we have decided to do topic guides for each of our focus areas. So for each of our focus areas, you can find on our website at the beginning of the focus area, a topic guide, which will collect all the actual, most recent or most useful content that you have in this field. So for example, if we take the topic guide on human and labor rights, you will have the first row, it's understand. So you will have basic content on the UN global, on the UN guiding principles on business and human rights, for example. Then you have the implement part, and then you have the exchange part. So these are the three kinds of formats that we offer. And you can, so if you are starting with the topic, you would like to start with understand probably, and then you can grow in the organization, the topic can grow, and you can find that on each and every focus area. For some of them, we have also two topic guides. For example, in the field of human and labor rights, we also have one on gender, etc. Next slide. Yeah, so just wanted to share this UNGC management model, UN Global Compact management model guide. It's just to, it is an old publication, so maybe it doesn't have the look and feel of the actual UNGC, but it is actually the foundation of the UN Global Compact, and it is still very useful to understand what is expected from a company that is at the UN Global Compact, that is participating, and also very useful to understand what can you do, and of course it follows this this model that we all know to manage. And then there's the after signature guide. It's also the guide, yeah, a guide that would help you. Then those are three publications on goals and targets of the regarding the SDGs. So if you are working on the SDGs, these can be quite useful publications. You will find them on the website of the UNGC, and this kind of help to understand how the SDGs apply to business activities. So I think that's it from my side. Thank you very much for the attention. And if you have any question, you can ask now.